Welcome to the MordorBBS Podcast. You can visit MordorBBS.com for pop culture news, views and information. Be the first on your blog to simply walk into Mordor. Your hosts for this podcast are Psygnal and Gameplay Jenny.
Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Welcome to the podcast, everyone. Breaking news this episode: Jenny's been press-ganged by notorious Caribbean pirates from the mid-18th century and is being held in the brig of their ship until I can get it together enough doubloons to pay the ransom. Naturally, the Wi-Fi service on your average wooden privateer is shocking, so you may notice the occasional audio glitch during this show. So, all the yo-ho-hoing aside, where are you really, Jenny?
I'm stuck in a conference room in a hotel in Telford.
And how did this come about?
Let's just say that trains home aren't what they used to be.
And leave it at that. What happens in Telford stays in Telford. I've been playing a fair bit of Minecraft just recently, and it's a game that has a lovely retro feel about it. One of the things that it got me thinking about was a few of the computer games that I used to play as a kid, which I'd love to see remade with modern graphics and effects. Jenny, there are probably a few in the dim, dark recesses of your computer game history that you'd like to see come back. Why don't you tell us about a couple of them?
Oh, well, I'm for the return of all these... Do you remember FMV? Remember FMV games, and they were all awful? Bring them back, but make them all good.
Full motion video, but you're still kind of relying on having decent actors, aren't you?
Exactly, so now that we've established that, let's go back and revisit them and do them properly.
Fair enough. I don't think I really played too many of those. There were a lot of rail shooters that I used to like, where they used to play a video and then just have a computer game happen over the top of it. But how far can you take this idea? I mean, could you do a decent modern-day remake of Pac-Man, for example, using modern DirectX 10 graphics or whatever?
Well, they did bring out a 3D version on the Archimedes, so I would have thought so. Well,
that's hardly an upgrade now by today's standards, is it? The Archimedes is still 1980s, 1990s?
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to go down that route with Pac-Man, then what you probably need is some sort of first-person version of it.
First-person Pac-Man. Yeah, I don't know if I could handle playing that without a machine gun or something.
Really?
First-person games to me tend to mean shooters. I mean, there aren't too many, or shooters or racing games. There aren't really too many other options out there, are there?
Well, Pac-Man is kind of a racing game when you think about it. It's just you have to avoid things.
True. I mean, it was a very simple idea, but it really is one of the first games to really go big time after the original Space Invaders, wasn't it?
Please don't ask me rhetorical questions like that, because the answer is don't know, probably. Wasn't it? Yes, I remember it well. I was probably about 3.
I keep forgetting you're such a newbie. I mean, when I was cutting my teeth on Space Invaders and Pac-Man, you were still pooing your diapers.
You see, I was brought up on things like Phantasmagoria. Where was the third one of that? Where did that go?
I didn't know there was a second one.
Oh, yes, there was a second one. It was awful, but there was a second one.
I did play the first one, but again, that was sort of relatively late in my game-playing career, for want of a better term. And all of my early stuff involves like the old Amstrad CPC, which was barely colour, let's face it. 8-bit computer games with no full motion video and practically no animation.
Yeah, I mean, I started out on all those sorts of things because, I mean, I was born in 81, so really I had the best of both worlds. That I, as a proper kid, I was brought up on all that sort of stuff, but then everything suddenly was leaps and bounds. By the time I was a teenager, we were into full motion video and God knows what, CD-ROMs.
See, I remember the original ColecoVision, which you plug into your television, which allowed you to play ping pong, basically.
I had one of those.
And the original Atari 2600 game Adventure, which was just fantastic. It really opened my eyes to a whole new genre of computer game playing. So games like that, I'm sure, have probably been remade over and over and over. Many different ways, but I don't know, I think there's something missing about a lot of these games. Maybe it's just the fact that I'm a lot older now and I'm just not taking them at face value anymore.
I just want to see Phantasmagoria 3.
Well, I don't know, maybe if they got George Clooney in it or something, it would be worth the effort, but honestly the first one didn't hold my interest right to the end.
Well, that's the point, you see. This is why they need remaking, because the idea was there. It just didn't quite work.
But are we really talking about just an interactive movie here, or would there actually be something more to it than that?
I suppose that's something that they would need to work out. I mean, we are in an age now of these games where things have consequences, although they seem to be sort of getting rid of that as well now. Like in Oblivion, you can't kill important people. Well, what's the point of that? I think you need to look at whether you can produce a game world that has consequences if you do certain things.
How would this work on a large scale? I mean, if you took a movie like Avatar and made it totally interactive in a large audience movie environment, do you see that working at all?
Well, Avatar is a film. That's the thing. It's not a game. It's a film. You'd have to start writing it on the proviso that it's a game.
Alright.
You can't take a film that already exists and turn it into an open-ended, whatever consequences game, because we all know the plot, so you can't do that.
Yeah, but you can't really turn a full-motion video game into a open-ended game either, can you? Because you are stuck with what you've happened to record. You're not doing anything that's new at any stage. Once you've gone through all the choose-your-own-adventure, click-on-this-button type options, what's left?
Yeah, well, you'd have to limit it to a certain extent because otherwise it doesn't work. But ultimately, I think that quite a lot of role-playing games are just that as well, because you can't do anything and everything that you want. Yeah. Yes, I know what I mean. The thing is, you have to be in a certain mindset. No game like that is ever going to be World of Warcraft, but it could be better than it was in the mid-90s.
Well, I mean, if all we're talking about is making a game better, making the same game but making it better, then yes, I can see where you're coming from. I guess I was thinking about a reimagining.
That is what we're talking about. If we're remaking games, if we want games to make a comeback, that's what you want. You want how it was, but better.
Fair enough, okay. Well, that's reinventing old games. What I'm enthused about at the moment is a game called Minecraft, which I think is a very cool new concept. And the thing I like about Minecraft is it's one of those games that it's very simple to pick up. In fact, initially I didn't like it very much because I thought it was too simple, but once you sort of dig a bit deeper, if you'll excuse the pun, Minecraft is actually a very fun, very complex and intricate game. It's one of these games that I think is unfortunately going to really catch my attention for quite a long time. It's going to be a struggle putting it down in order to have a shower or go to work in the morning.
Rob, Minecraft. Qu'est-ce que c'est?
You've never heard of Minecraft? Okay.
Well, I have.
Well, you have now. It's basically you wake up in the middle of an island somewhere and you don't know who you are or what's going on. And you start out with nothing, and the idea is to just build something. It's a sandbox game. Ultimately it's about exploring your environment and trying to figure out where to get your resources from and avoid zombies along the way. It's good fun, very casual gameplay, and it's not a system hog. You can pretty much play it on anything. Yeah, and I think it's 12 or 13 pounds. I'm not sure what that is in US dollars, maybe 20-ish. Just do a Google search for Minecraft. You're bound to be able to find it. Oh, now this one actually had me enthused. The game worlds. So forget the game, what's the world they've built like? Can you explore it? What's the future of digital tourism? And what cool stuff have we actually seen in the games?
The devil is digital tourism.
Believe it or not, it's an actual thing. Like, it's being built into a lot of these larger first-person games. They sort of build into...
Just sort of spotting things like you do like you walk around Morrowind and you go, oh, look at that.
Yeah, and if they'd say put a cool sculpture in the middle of Morrowind somewhere, and there was no real goal to it other than to go there and see it, that's digital tourism, and a lot of games are starting to build stuff into it. I think a lot of these game companies are beginning to understand that their game worlds are, I suppose, more complete with this sort of stuff in it. I remember back in the day when I was playing Asheron's Call, we would travel for hours, literally hours, just running along the landscape just to see the magical tower of something or other in the middle of nowhere.
See, in some ways you think, yeah, great, brilliant, that's, great idea. But in others, I would hate the idea that people are spending hours walking around to see things that don't really exist, but don't go out of their front doors to see things that actually do exist. There's just something in the pit of my stomach there that says, Go out and have a look at actual things.
Yeah, but how many actual things are there in Trafford, for example? And when you think about it, yeah.
Where, sorry? Trafford
or wherever you are, or Telford. I don't know.
I'm not in Trafford. Funnily enough, I was in Trafford last week, but I'm not in Trafford this week.
Telford, then. I mean, if you were to, let's say, within.
You don't even know your geography. Do you see where I'm coming
Oh,
from
come
here.
on, you're in the UK. That's not proper geography. If you were to walk out the front door of your hotel now and walk for, say, half an hour in any given direction,
Yep.
what awesomeness could you actually find?
Telford Park, Telford Ice Rink, the Iron Bridge Gorge. That's probably enough to be going on with for a day at least.
The Iron Bridge Gorge sounds kind of cool, but Ice Rink is a sort of a crappy bit of awesomeness, really.
I was just doing it in order of what I would find as I walked out of the door. I'd get to the park, get to the ice rink, and then I'd get to Iron Bridge Gorge.
So what's this Iron Bridge Gorge?
Well, it's a massive bridge made of iron over a big gorge, but it also has a full recreated village. I think is it Victorian? A Victorian village called, I think it's Blist's Hill, and they actually they are a proper working Victorian village that you can go and visit and walk around and buy stuff. You can change your money into their currency and buy things and see how people lived back then and all that sort of thing.
See, this just sounds like World of Warcraft to me.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So why do you need it in a computer game when it's there?
Far less chance of being mugged and run over by a double-decker bus, quite frankly.
But far more chance of ending up with rickets.
Well, true, yes. If anything, I suppose computer games are not the healthiest of options if you're looking at things. But by the same token, if you're into your fantasy genres and so forth, it's a fantastic way of seeing stuff that you're simply not going to see in real life. Why do people like Google Earth, for example?
That's true, but equally, you could actually go and see that at some point.
Well, true. You look at the old Star Wars Galaxies game. Now, in the original Star Wars movie, you've got where the droids crash into Tatooine. And you could actually go and see that in the game and wander around it and find things. Now, I just find that cool. That's an iconic piece of sci-fi history that you could actually go and have a bit of a wander around, albeit through the flat screen of your computer. But you could go and have a wander around and have a jolly good rummage. That's not something that's possible walking out the front door of Telford.
Well, I'm not denying that it's cool. It is cool, but the point at which people would go into a shop, actually people don't go into shops anymore, do they? The point at which somebody would go on Steam and download something like, hey, digital tourism, just wander around and have a look. That's the point where it's all gone horribly wrong. It's fine if it adds to games and, you know, I bang on about the Elder Scrolls all the time because that's what I play all the time, where you're walking along between quests and going, wow, that's amazing. But at no point would I ever think, right, I'm going to sit down for 5 hours tonight and I'm going to explore somewhere that doesn't really exist. Because I could do that in real life and go and have a look at actual stuff.
But we're not talking about it replacing normal tourism. And the whole point is adding stuff to games and digital tourism being a part of your normal gaming experience. So
But that's where it's going to go, isn't it? That's where it's going to go. Digital tourism is going to end up as, hey, forget about the game. Yeah, I don't like playing computer games. I just want to walk around somewhere. No, go out your front door.
Well, isn't that what the whole of Second Life was about? Was just wandering around and looking at stuff?
Yes, it was, and I didn't agree with that either.
Okay. I don't know. I reckon not too many years from now, that's pretty much how people are going to end up taking their holidays, is by jacking into some computer program or other. There simply isn't going to be enough livable world left for you to go tripping around on. So, hey, you may as well get started now and just plug in and tune out.
I think I might just go and kill myself, to be honest. This is just all wrong. It's all wrong.
I think we found one of your Achilles heels, have we?
One of my bugbears, yes. Excellent.
I'm going to have to occasionally prod this with a sharpened stick to amuse myself. Actually, what is a bugbear?
Let me Google that. It's a legendary creature or type of hobgoblin comparable to the bogeyman.
And you have one of these, do you?
Under my bed, apparently. Its name is derived from an old Celtic word bug for evil spirit or goblin. In medieval England, the bugbear was depicted as a creepy bear that lurked in the woods to scare children.
A creepy what, sorry?
Bear.
Bear? I thought you said pear. That would just be odd.
It may also mean pet peeve.
Pet peeve, which I guess is how you intended it.
Yes.
Now, I know you're not a Lord of the Rings fan.
That would be one way of putting it.
Peter Jackson is working on the Hobbit movies as we speak. I was a big fan of the books as a kid. or the book, I should say, as a kid, The Hobbit. And it bugs me that they're inventing characters just to appeal to the masses. But I think they're taking out one of the dwarves and replacing with a pretty elf called Tauriel or something. Just to...
Oh dear.
I mean, okay, I'm all for the occasional change being made to make the film more marketable, but it does seem to be fairly fundamental. And this sort of thing, I think, just cheapens the whole process.
Speaking of changing fundamentals, I saw The Secret Circle this week. That was the big new series that was on our satellite channels here. Now, I love the books. I grew up as a teenager reading Lisa Jane Smith books about vampires and witches and all sorts of things, and they were great. They're all really good. But they made the Vampire Diaries into a series which I never saw. And they've now made The Secret Circle, which is my absolute favourite trilogy that she's ever written. And they have changed it so totally that most of the characters are missing. The storyline is almost completely different. And they've actually introduced a character who never even existed for no reason whatsoever. And I just sat and watched it and we're just getting angrier and angrier and angrier and going, this is just a standard teen drama that they have got the name of these books and put it... That's how much they've changed it. It might as well have not been based on the books.
Well, teen dramas seem to be taking over everything at the moment. I mean, I don't know The Secret Circle, but I have seen the Vampire Diaries, a couple of episodes of it, and I know how popular it is. But yeah, it's just... They just seem to take these great ideas and turn them into absolute dribble just because they'll be able to sell advertising slots more effectively with it or something.
I genuinely don't understand why they bothered. They might as well have not bothered because it's not even set in the same place. I mean, to put this into context, The Secret Circle is about a girl who discovers that she's a witch and doesn't know that she is. And it's set in New Salem because that's where they burnt witches. But in the TV series, it isn't even set there. And you think, what's the point?
Going back to bugbears, that's obviously another one of yours. Mine is much the same, I guess. Vampires. Traditionally...
Yeah, like vampires.
Well, vampire movies have always fascinated me ever since... Well, I grew up with Hammer horror movies with Christopher Lee and being all vampire-y and Van Helsing being played by Peter Cushing running along and ultimately driving a stake through his heart. And that sort of stuff just really appealed as a kid. I just sort of grew up with it. It was fantastic. And then Twilight came along, and the reason that vampires don't go out in the daylight is because they get all sparkly. What? Sparkly bloody vampires.
One person is responsible single-handedly for mocking an entire genre there.
Yes, if you like Twilight, I don't care whether you're an Edward fan or a whoever the other guy is fan. I hate you. I will hate you forever. You're the lowest of the low, and may your sparkly vampires explode and kill you. That's all I have to say on the matter. Because I've just probably alienated half of our audience there.
I doubt it. I can't imagine any Twilight fans are listening to us.
Can't imagine there's too many people listening to us, to be honest.
I can't believe anybody's listening to us, really.
It's at this point that I'd like to send a shout out to Mr. Bill Wolf and AMS Boethius 1, who are probably the two people who are listening to us right now. So, big wave. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for listening to the MordorBBS Podcast. Don't forget that you can visit us online at MordorBBS.com